Well, hello, and welcome to Stop, Let's Team Up, Those Daring Defenders, episode 29. Yes, it's back into the world of that famous non-team, the Defenders, and I'm joined by the amazing Biily from World on Fire and Magazines and Monsters. Say hello, Biily.
Hey, what's happening, Ross?
Nothing much. Ready to talk some 1970s Defenders. Very excited, and we're in... I'm reading it in the Omni Volume 2, which is nice because I'm upgrading my Defenders. You're reading it with the lovely floppies, aren't you?
Well, the only one I don't have that we're going to be covering today is 2-in-1 7. I have that in my Essential here, my handy-dandy Volume 2 Defenders Essential, but the other three, yes, I have the singles of those.
Yeah, oh wow. God, I really wish I'd never sold my complete run of Marvel 2-in-1. Yeah,
I'm about 75% complete on that, 80%.
I don't want to imagine because I completed mine in 1979, so it was only like it wasn't that many damn issues. I mean, 1980 probably was up to the 20s. But I like Gerber was writing both titles at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to be covering is Marvel 2-in-1 6 and 7, and then Defenders 20 and 21. The first three are all one arc. It's the return of the Undying Ones again, but it's a good story. And then 21 is pretty much it's a standalone comic, but it is definitely a prelude to things to come.
Mm-hmm.
Because Gerber he did something that Claremont did, is he would start an arc and then not touch on it again for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get to that issue, you'll know what it is. But these are some great comics I'm a huge Gerber fan, so I'm very excited about this. And there's some really we're going to talk art and inkers. We had been prior, so there's some of that. So let's get started with the first one. If you hear a thud, that is me putting the Omni down on my small desk. Hold on, let me pull up the basic info. We're not going to do synopsises. We're just going to kind of go through it real quick as we chat about it. This first issue was cover date. Hold on a sec. Was released on August 13th, 1974. Cover date November 1974. It is Marvel 2-in-1. It's Sting, and his co-star in this one is Doc Strange. You also get Clee Wong and a character called Celestia, first appearance. Then there's a bunch of just kind of background characters. And it's kind of it is another sequel to the origin of the Defender. I mean, Biily, you're like me. You're a big Defenders fan. How often does the Undying Ones come back?
Yeah, they touch on a few different things in Doctor Strange and Defenders on a few different occasions. And, sometimes I feel like it's something that you don't really need to bring back because it was just okay or it's been used a couple of times already. But I will say, Steve Gerber, like you said earlier, he's one of your favorites. He's one of my all-time favorite writers. I feel like I'm in the camp of he can do no wrong, even though nobody's perfect. But reissue arc, I think everything ties up nicely.
Yeah, and I think it's just more. He's also moving Valkyrie forward character-wise. Yeah. Because, I forgot, Jack Norris hasn't showed up yet.
No.
And the first idea that there is a Jack Norris, or that he's important to her story, is in this arc. Yeah.
Yep.
Because I don't know if you listen to Tighten Up the Defense. I'm behind, but when the guys on that show were going through this, they're really, really unkind to Jack. Jack is a bit of a putz. And they pick on Nighthawk too, because Kyle's a bit of a putz. And I don't disagree with that assessment of those two fictional gentlemen, but I kind of like that with Nighthawk, he's just kind of clueless. I just want to be a hero, but you're a spoiled little rich guy. There's some weird, there's some out of date character art, things you wouldn't write into a male character anymore. And but this is Gerber's run is just so good. I mean, it is so good, and it is so different than Englehart's. I was recording with Kirby yesterday, doing Under Siege, folks, and I told him, it's like, the thing about Defenders is the Roy stuff is okay. It's okay. It's not great. But once Steve Englehart takes over, and Gerber, and then David Anthony Kraft, there's a run of issues, like at least 60 issues long. Not maybe that, maybe 50. That is just spot on great. And then it'll go up, it goes up and down a little bit, and then you get to New Defenders, and that's kind of where I think me and Biily both pieced out. Yeah, for sure. Especially when they made it almost all. The only problem with that is there's a lot of Gargle in there, and Gargle is one of my top 3 Defenders.
Oh yeah, that miniseries with him is really good. If anybody hasn't read that, that's really, really good.
I think if they keep doing these omnis at that far out, that will be in it.
I hope so. That's great stuff. Because I don't know that that's ever been reprinted.
I don't think it is. Was it Kyle Baker?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I know J.M. DeMatteis, I think, wrote it, and then one or two of the covers had Wrightson covers too, I think.
Yeah, I think it's one of those indie guy. It was an indie guy, and it was like his first Marvel or something. But let's get started. Let's go back to this one. So this is basically Marvel 2-in-1, folks. If you don't know, if you're listening to this, you're probably do know. It was a great team-up book. They need to bring team-up books back. There is a team-up book now, which is somewhat comedic, by Steve Scroach. It's called Clobbering Time, which I read the first 2 issues, and I really enjoyed it. So
sounds great.
It's really it's fun. The first one is him and the Hulk, and they just battle in it. It's pretty fun. It's a lot of fun. But these were, DC had 2, Marvel had 2, and they really, I would love them to do omnis of 2-in-1. I know you can get them in the Epic, and I know you can get them in the Masterworks, but these were great. My favorite I liked Marvel 2-in, but Team Up, but Marvel 2-in was my jam. So these are fun. So the creative team on this one is written by Steve Gerber, pencils George Tuska, which is a good thing, inked by Mike Esposito, which we'll talk about. Colorist Petra Goldberg, letterer Artie Simek, and editor Roy Thomas. So basically, Doc Strange is in a subway. Let's just kind of go through this real quick. So it's got a great little start. Doc Strange and Clea are using the subway, and it's the 70s, so New York's really dirty, and they're playing that up. And there's this group of people in the subway, and this young lady's playing a harmonica, which is cool. I want to ask you, we were talking earlier, we're both Tuska fans, and we were talking about good inkers, bad inkers. I don't think Mike Esposito's a bad inker. I just don't think, I think I would have liked that little heavier touch on this. Because I remember seeing Tuska in like Iron Man. I just think this is not my favorite Tuska, and it's not all of it. It's like this. I find the splash page a little not as good as some of the other panels later in the book. Yeah,
splash page is interesting. I do want to mention the cover was Jim Starlin, by the way.
Oh yeah, oh god, I forgot. Yeah. That's
fantastic cover with Jim Starlin. Oh man.
Yeah, this is where Jim is really starting to get his style. It's because he's doing a lot in other things. He does there's a Giant Size coming up, Giant Size 3, that he does the interior art, and he's inked by people like Jerry Bingham and stuff. So it's really pretty, but it's early, so it's not as like what we would consider classic Starlin, which is like his Captain Marvel, and then Dreadstar, and then the Marvel 2-in-1 Avenger Annual 2-parter. Which was Warlock and his Warlock stuff, but yeah, that's a great cover. I love it. Did he ever do any Doc Strange?
Yeah, just a few issues here and there. I think in the 20s, the numbers of the 20s of the 1974 volume.
So when he was just starting out and doing a little bit here and there for Marvel.
Yeah, so like probably I would imagine that was 76, probably 77, somewhere in there.
All right. Yeah, I'm not that familiar. I've started to look at those omnis too to see if it's cheap. Well, maybe I'll read the Silver Age Doc Strange because I've never read but bits and pieces of it. But I do like
Flash page is great.
Yeah, I do like it because one, George can also create different faces, which is sometimes in old comic art everybody has the same face.
I love the snapshot of the 70s here on this page, the splash page.
Yeah.
The artwork's decent. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's okay. It's not bad. But I just love it. There's two hoodlums, a hobo with a bottle of booze, this strange little girl. She looks like she's like 10.
Yeah, she looks like 10 in one panel, and then she looks 20, and then she looks 10.
And the married couple. There's an advertisement for booze and cigarettes.
The married couple, the dude looks really either stoned, unhappy. I don't know, but he looks really like, why am I here?
Zombie eyes.
Yeah, he's got the big sunken eyes. But and it's got Gerber. We're in the era of a lot of exposition and narrative boxes, but I mean, it's like it starts with this great caption: "The subways of Manhattan's Lower East Side have a hollow feel about them after midnight, an atmosphere of gray foreboding, of undefinable menace. Every noise reverberates against the cold concrete walls down through the dark labyrinthine tunnels, lending a sinister aspect to even the most innocent of sounds. Laughter is heard as snide jeering. A wino's wheezing sigh becomes the latest gasp of mankind itself, and a bit of blues played on a young girl's mouth harp, the cry of a world in pain." And
Gerber's great.
It is. It's great. It's great. It's and then we go to the second page, and she's playing it, and we're introduced by name to all the characters and how the music is affecting them.
Mm-hmm.
Alvin Denton, the unshaven hobo, he hears bittersweet memories of a woman he loved. The two gangsters, they're finding the girl's music merely the object of ridicule. And Sheldon and Renee Goldberg of Park Slope section of Brooklyn simply don't understand at all.
That's great.
But, and then the one hoodlum tries to steal the harmonica. I'm not using the word mouth harp.
That's crazy.
They steal it. He pushes her in front of the tracks, and then Doc Strange, he just rips the harmonica. Doesn't go to save the girl, just grabs the harmonica, and then he uses magic to a snowfall of pyrotechnics to stop the car. And him and Cleve rescue the young woman, but she's gone. Mm-hmm. Her body explodes in a shower. She dies. She gets hit. Okay, I thought that was his magic spell. She gets hit, and she turns into like these little multicolored
Kirby crackle or something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and everybody and the bad guys run away, and they find that there's this name Celestia on the harmonica. What did you think of that sequence?
Well, it's wild because she actually says to Doctor Strange as he comes towards her, "Don't worry about me. I am not important. Get the harmonica." And you're thinking, okay, nobody is going to go to get a harmonica when there's a girl about to be run over by a subway car. But he actually does. He listens to her, which is wild.
Oh, yeah, and then the caption there. He hesitates, gazes deep into her compelling ebony eyes, and he chooses. And then Clee's like, "Steven, have you gone mad? The girl! Save the girl!" In a moment, Clee, if there's time.
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, she kind of like self-implodes here. It's like right as the subway train is going to hit her, and multicolored sparks, brilliant display of unearthly pyrotechnics, and you see those pyrotechnics start to affect everyone there. Not really Clea and the Doc, though, but everybody else kind of is like, what's going on here? And the hoodlums react kind of violently towards it. The hobo looks like he's getting high off of it. The married couple are kind of,
I think it's soothing
moving
him.
away.
I kind of like that her music soothes this man who's sitting there basically drinking himself to death.
Mm-hmm. And he's an important figure. We don't know that yet, but he's an important figure.
Yeah.
The hobo here.
And then we cut to the next page, to the Baxter building, and Ben. I don't know if Ben lives on a dormitory twin bed, or he's just so big that a full side bed looks like that small. It looks like he's living in some college dorm in this image. That's all I can think of is the crappy little beds we had in my college dorm here in Richmond 40 years ago. But he gets a phone number, and it's from an old lady in Yancey Street, and her grandson was the main hoodlum.
Mm-hmm.
So, And what I like it is he answers the phone. It's like, you better be someone who knows my private number. So, yeah, Graham speaking. Oh, if you're selling magazines, you better know a quick way out of town. And then it's Mrs. Coogan from Yancey Street who helped, and he gets in his. What I love, and I'm going to mention this when we get to the next issue, but he gets in this Fantastic Car, and Tuska basically draws a Kirby Wakanda flying ship. That is very specific.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, it is. I like it. Buscema uses this design for the early Quinjets look like this. So I like that he's using something that has been seen in continuity. It's just wrong. It's not the Fantastic Car. And in the next issue, which is drawn by somebody else, he's in the Fantastic Car. But he flies there, and the old lady gives, gets him, but he finds out, and he really doesn't like Miss Coogan's grandson. Yeah, so, but it's I always like it when Ben goes to Yancey Street.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
And you find out this Miss Coogan pretty much helped raise him. And then we cut back where Klee, Wong, and Doctor Strange are, he's doing an incantation with the Eye of Menno, and then the girl comes back. And she gives him, she moves, she basically said she's just, her figure, her form was a manifestation of, the force in the universe of destiny. Oh yeah, was using the harmonica for some. Does she say what they're using? No, not here. It's up later. But yeah, later. But she gives her some stuff, and then Doc Strange flies off looking for all the people. First he goes to the Goldbergs, and the dude's washing up, and then his face is gone. But it's all an illusion. It's all in his mind, and he saves it. And I like it. Then he, they're, and it helps the guy. Goes, and I get this part. I live in a job. Sometimes I feel like this. It was a manifestation of how he felt. That I dress like everyone else. I wear my hair like everyone else, and I starting to think that like them too, because it's good for my career, good for business. What about good for me? Renee, what if I I call it quits, left the agency and old up here and wrote a book? And she's like, oh, I would fall in love with you all over again. That's a good wife. You're not realizing you're going to be a waitress in New York while your husband is a struggling author.
Yeah, he's going to be a struggling author, and they're going to be eating bologna sandwiches.
Yeah. Now we cut back to Ben, and he goes outside, and the Yancey Stringer vandalizes his car. Okay.
It's great, yep.
Dude, you need to remember, it always, I love the Yancey Street gag.
Thing go home, stamp out ugly people, they wrote on his Fantastic Car, and a skull and crossbones.
And then I like the note, hope you like the decorations, the Yancey Street gang. One of my favorite Marvel 2-in-1s is when he teams up with the Yancey Street gang and you never see the kids' faces. Yep. And then Doc Strange shows up because he knows that the next he's there because the two hoodlums are there, and then there's a giant rat.
Yeah, it kind of creeps out from the trash and just goes from regular rat size and turns into a giant rat, and they have to fight it. Yeah, they have to kind of say he snags the main hoodlum who's terrified. And, it's time for a giant rat battle. It takes on 3. But Doc Strange is like, he realizes it because this is the fears of this other guy are creating it. He's like, hey, let go of me. I recognize you. You're the guy from the subway. This is all you're doing, not mine, yours. The rat is a living symbol of your own defeatism and despair, your willingness to surrender and be devoured by the slum. And Ben is being, the rat is about to is lifting Ben Grimm up with his front paw, and Ben is running, for crying out loud, Doc, skip the lectures and do something. And so Doc Strange just slaps the dude across the face. No, you're lying. What can the guy's like, I can't help you. And he just talks the guy into it. And he convinces the guy, and then the bad guy is getting hugged by his grandma, and all is well, and they've stopped. They stopped the thing, and then they go back to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and Doc Strange is wrong. Clee, we have he comes in. Clee, would you fetch the harmonica? I wish I could.
the harmonicas, it's gone, Stephen. What? Your friend from the Defenders, a woman called Valkyrie, came for it moments ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's got to lead us into the next issue of Marvel 2-in-1.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this. You know, it's a short little story. It ends up really short and sweet, but it's one of those ones. It's the old rule. It's got to be readable as a single issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it works fine. Is it a little overly simplistic? But yeah, a little bit. But I think that's what these team-up books were. I mean, later there'll be big crossovers. Like I've got 2 hardcovers of Marvel 2-in-1, the Pegasus Project and the sequel to the Serpent Crowns affair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Folks, if you have not read Marvel 2-in-1, there's some really great stuff in it. Perez draws some, Byrne draws some. There's some really good. And if you like Ben Grimm, it's some of my favorite Ben Grimm stuff.
Yeah, my favorite interaction of the whole book, I actually put it out there on Twitter and, sent it to you in DM, where Dr. Strange says, your physical blows may ultimately be less effective against it than, say, the flames of the Faltine. And Ben Grimm says, leave this to me and Doc and his flamin' saltines. I love Ben Grimm.
I love Ben Grimm. He is my favorite FF member. Hands down. I read his solo book. His solo book, folks, that took over from Marvel 2-in-1 is really good too.
Yeah.
So,
I have some of those. They're a lot of fun.
Oh my God, they are so good. And
Who did those? Byrne?
Well, Byrne wrote the first batch.
Okay.
And it had lovely Ron Wilson art, and then a couple of them, Byrne inked Wilson, which I was a kid. I was like, I don't know if I like Ron Wilson, but when he left the book, I was like, oh, I really love Ron Wilson.
He's good artist.
Yeah, he is. He's perfect for the thing. And he has a little bit of a cartoony style. It's less realistic, which some people, it bugs them. But I really enjoy it. I like a good, I want to see the energy of a cartoony. Sometimes the energy and the action-packed stuff is better in a more cartoony style. So the second issue we're going to is issue 7. It was released, October 10th, 1974, 18 days before my 10th birthday. So I would have read this. I would have been handed this comic, or my brother would always hand me all his new comics.
Love this cover, Romita.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, it is a great Romita cover. It's Ben, the Executioner, and Valkyrie fighting. And it's just a stunning cover. I'm gonna open it a little bigger so I can see it.
Yeah, a little bait and switch, but it's good. It's good.
Yeah, it is. And I like how on this one, because they didn't have this is one title that didn't have corner boxes. They would have the names in the center and then a standard image of the 2 characters on each side. It's a great cover.
Yeah, really a lot of fun.
Yeah. So it's the featured characters are. Wait a minute, I went back. Wrong issue. Are the Thing and Valkyrie, and folks, we haven't done a Daring Defenders, but Valkyrie it's Broomhilda. She's Broomhilda, and she's in the body of Barbara Norris. And is now been. Excuse the background noise. My lovely wife is walking through, and I don't want to edit, so I'm just going to leave it in. So I love Valkyrie, I think she is the heart of Defenders.
Yeah, she's a great character.
She's the one that has to be in it for me sometimes for it to be a Defender book. And I've liked the more recent Defenders runs, the ones by Al Ewing and Javier Rodriguez. I recommend them highly, as I think they're as good as some of this stuff. But they're very weird, because it's Al Ewing. They're very trippy-dippy. But my one thing is that we don't see this Valkyrie in it. We see the other Valkyrie, which I like. I like the new Valkyrie, the 2 new Valkyries they've had. That they're more than, there's Jane Foster, there's the one that's designed after the movie one, and Broomhilda. They all exist, so I'd like to see this Valkyrie come back. So just me putting that out into the universe is let's bring back the original Valkyrie. But this time the villains are the Enchantress and the Executioner, who the Enchantress is the reason Valkyrie exists. This book was written by the amazing Steve Gerber, penciled by Sal Buscema. Woohoo! I love Sal and anything. Inker, Mike Esposito, and we're going to talk about. I didn't like his inks on the previous issue. I love his inks on this. I think he's more suited to Sal. It looks better on Sal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
just
think
looks
so.
better on Sal. I think Sal doesn't have, maybe George over pencils and some inkers would just, I'm not inking that. Vinny Coletta, I'm not inking that. I got to get this out. Colorist Bill Mantlo. I forgot he was a colorist.
Yep.
Letter Joe Rosen and editor Roy Thomas. I love Bill Mantlo. So let's just say Bill Mantlo, one of the unsung giants of comics. No.
Yeah.
So poor guy.
He's doing spot jobs, colors, even letters. I've seen him do spot jobs on early in his career. He was a jack of all trades.
Oh my God! And I'm covering the Will Payton, Roger Stern, Tom Lyle Starman, and early on in that, I've covered the issues because I'm covering the 3 issues of the Invasion series, which is these big, giant 81-page aliens invaded, folks. If you listen to my podcast, you've heard it. But Bill Mantlo did the dialogue over Giffin's plot. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I'd forgotten that, and I'd never remembered that Mantlo did anything for DC.
Yeah, he was great, man. Even if you look at his career and just look at ROM and Micronauts, the guy had a career that dwarfs many people.
And that stuff's all being reprinted, folks. So I know these are expensive. So pre-order them so they do more. They have announced the second ROM volume already. They would take 3 to do all ROM. It would take 3 to do maybe 4 to do all the Micronauts. Please buy them. That's the only way we're going to get them, because eventually, once they're done, we're done. It's like I've got 2 volumes of Master of Kung Fu. I'm never getting volume 1 or volume 3, 4, because they're never going to reprint it again.
Yeah, and the prices, if you don't get them now with a pre-order from cheap graphic novels or in-stock trade, something like that, if you don't pre-order at a decent price, once they get sold out, you're doomed, because the secondary market, you'll pay 3 or 4 times the amount of money.
You have to read this stuff. Bill Mantlo is,
it's great.
He's for younger readers don't know him, and they would go, well, he's a Bronze Age guy. Doesn't matter. He what's so good about his stuff is it holds up. I think as good as any classic Bronze Age comic does. He writes a good style, and I'm also when and I know they will do this, when they start doing his era on Hulk, I will be buying those omnibuses. Because that's my Hulk.
That's what a lot of people think of when they think of Bill Mantlo. They usually, some of them go Hulk first and then the other stuff. I'm the opposite, because I haven't read a ton of his Hulk, and I didn't read it as it was coming out. But man, Rom to me is his masterpiece.
Yeah, it is, and it's him and Sal. A lot of it's him and Sal.
Yep.
And his Hulk is him and Sal. Yep. The Micronauts, the first 12 issues alone.
Michael Golden, you have. Oh my gosh.
God, then you have Pat Broderick. Then you have Rick Leonardi, and even it's just this amazing stuff, guys. If you have never read Bill Mantlo, please go on the app, go anywhere, read a lot of his stuff. His Rocket Raccoon, which is I'm bidding on a Guardian of the Galaxy solo issues Omni. I'm hoping kind of don't win it because it's got some repeat stuff I got, but that's in there. And he's the creator of Rocket Raccoon with Mike Mignola.
Yep.
Some great stuff. He's one of the great comic writers of all time. So let's get it. This story is called, though, Name That Doom.
I love it.
I love that title. And Gerber's it starts with another hobo. It's Central Park. There, folks, if you New York in the 70s.
It's the same guy. He's just now.
Oh, it is Calvin. He's just drawn different. Okay.
It's Alvin Denton. Yep. He's just drawn a little differently, but the same guy from the subway. Now he's moved up to Central Park because sometimes when you're a homeless guy,
you need a little sunshine in your life.
Yeah, or you'll get told, hey, hit the road. You can't sleep here, and you got to find somewhere to go. So he goes to Central Park.
Yeah, folks, watch any 70s cop movie set in New York, and you'll understand how dirty and gritty New York was in the 70s. It was, but Valkyrie flies up and yanks him, and she's on her winged steed Aragon, who she inherited from the Black Knight. It was very neat in Kirby. It was like going, because he was reading. He had never read Under Siege, and he hasn't read a lot of Avengers. So I was like, "What did you think of Black Knight?" And he goes, I only know her from the early Defenders, because he is Kirby's read the early Defenders. I was like, oh, so I was like, Black Knight is cool. He's in the, you know. I wish kind of like when they were test driving that he had become a member of the Defenders.
Mm-hmm.
It'd have been a good fit. It would have been a good fit. But then they had Nighthawk, and I love Nighthawk. So, but she grabs him, and all she says to him, "Do not struggle, Alvin Denton. Accept that your destiny is my hands." And he goes, "Bar," and then they disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. And then we cut back to the Sanctum Sanctorum. And great. I love how they had to move the trademark window to the left so it would be in the panel. I think that was added later. I think someone had you need to make it look like you need his upside down pentagram. And then Ben, they're looking at the orb and they're looking for Valkyrie, and Ben's going, "How about tuning in that cosmic TV set of yours on the chick that made off with the harmonica then?"
Cosmic TV set, fantastic.
And Stephen, being the pompous guy is, "The Valkyrie whose part in the bizarre events of the night have just passed, is the greatest mystery of all. Gaze with me, Ben Grimm, deep into the crystal of Agamotto, and behold, what? How can she be? Val would not have come here and taken. She's asleep. She's in Cobbler's Roost, Vermont. They love Vermont. I almost thought for a second, are we going back to Rutland?"
Yeah.
And then we get the one-page recap, folks. You can have exposition, and Sal can do it the best.
Oh, it looks great. It's fantastic.
It's just one big montage with their faces in the middle, and you get all of it. And no offense to George Tuska, I think it's a little better drawn here because I just think
really
it's the right combination of artists together.
Yeah, and Sal Buscema was just perfect for this title. I don't know what it is, but he draws everyone the way you think of these people in your head. It's Sal Buscema.
He's just,
so good.
He is. He's still with us, folks. He is very, very old. He lives up where I grew up. He's a Northern Virginia guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He still comes out every once in a while to do like a signing at like a shop or something like that. Every once in a while.
He used to work at the same I think he did some theater when I never saw it, but there's a little theater in Alexandria called the Little Theater of Alexandria. And he would do like design, and he would act in them and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So then we cut back. And so Ben and Doc Strange are figuring out what to do. So Ben gets the job of going to find Valkyrie.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how Steven's not the nicest person in the world.
No,
because he says this: continue my efforts to locate the missing link in the puzzle. The old drunkard, you dick.
Yeah, he sometimes is not nice to the people that he supposedly cares for.
No. And folks, if you listen, I recommend Titan of the Defense. Hugs and Corey really pick on Steve for being a pretty much of an insensitive ponce of a man. And they're not wrong. Wrong.
No.
And Ben flies off in a correct Fantastic car. It's the long one. It's just missing the two sidecars. I prefer the bathtub, the original, but, get it right, guys. And then, Steve goes back to his brooding, and then the thing flies to Vermont, and he stops at a gas station.
For directions.
And he tries to wake. Jesus, folks, it is. Even the Fantastic Four didn't have internet in the 70s. I could see. I'd like to
GPS.
See. No GPS. Ben just up there trying to fly the Fantastic Car with a road map blowing in the wind would have been a good gag. But so he taps the attendant on the shoulder, and the next thing you see is what's that? Sal Buscema.
The Sal Punch. Yep.
Yeah, the Sal Punch, but they got the Twitter feed that is dedicated. And they randomly will just go, Sal Punch.
I think isn't it called Sal Buscema Punch Enthusiast?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's a great feed because folks, it's on, what page is it on in the issue? I'm looking at the omnibus. They take out the page numbers. It drives me nuts.
I think it's 5.
5. It's in the bottom left corner. It's got a great sound effect. Tham. And Ben's coming out the window, and there's the guy punching. Sal did this in every comic he ever drew, was a guy in the background at the end of a punch, and then the person being punched flying off camera. Mm-hmm. And this big guy's got a big mace. I don't know how you, is that a card? You know.
I'm just thinking that, the mace, the proportion of the guy in the mace is a little off on that one. It's just, the mace looks bigger than the guy.
Yeah, and it varies depending on what panel it is and what it is.
It looks great in the next panels, though. It looks fine in the next couple panels, though.
And then Sound does this nice 6-page layout for the fight on page 6, where, you know what I mean, each one has an action, and there's a lot of dialogue, but...
you see, it's the Executioner.
We know it's the Executioner. I guess Ben has not fought him at this point.
Oh, he calls him a junior grade Shakespeare.
Oh, yeah, which is great, because they all talk in fake, Norse iambic pentameter. What does he say? There will be no whole story as yet, dolt. The ending hath yet to be written. And then that's when Ben goes, just my luck to run into a junior grade Shakespeare. Skip the flowery speeches and chance plays no part in this drama, fool. We lured thee hither to keep thee from interfering. We lured thee here to die. And then Ben gets zapped in the back, and you turn around, and the next page, it's the Enchantress.
Mm-hmm. Yep, very, very powerful magic user from Asgard.
And they've just escaped from a certain... I was certain my magic had regained its full potency in the months since we left Cassolinea's realm, but perhaps not. And that all took place in Defenders 4, because the Valkyrie, folks, if you don't know, she was originally in Avengers 81, I think it's 81, the Lady Liberators.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and she was the Valkyrie. She was the Enchantress in disguise. Mm-hmm. And then Barbara Norris is, she was a disciple of the Undying Ones who went mad, and they put the fake Valkyrie into her body. And we find it years later that she is Broomhilda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, an actual Valkyrie from Norse mythology.
And that's way down the line, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Is it Steve? Did Gerber do it?
I don't think so. I think
it may have been David Anthony Kraft.
Yeah, or even J.M. DeMatteis. Somebody that's after Gerber.
Yeah, they go to Asgard. It may be J.M. DeMatteis. I think it was Perlin. I think it was a Don Perlin issue.
Could be, yeah.
Because he drew this book forever.
Oh, yeah, quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So she magically lifts Ben up, and they go into the back of the garage, and there floating is the harmonica. Alvin Denton is in a force field tied to a chair, and she grabs the harmonica, and she zaps them both, and they disappear. So was the garage a fake, or did she sent them to where Valkyrie was sleeping?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, out in the woods somewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then they wake up, and poor Alvin's tied up, but the thing kind of helps him out here. But then all of a sudden, Steven's astral form shows up, and Alvin thinks it's a ghost.
Yeah. Well, he's probably detoxing at this point.
Yeah, he's coming down off of a bender, so leave the guy alone. But yeah, great stuff here. Great stuff. Great dialogue. Great stuff. And Steven's like, hey, you can't fight them alone. I suggest we return to New York at once. And then he kind of disappears, and they jump in the Fantastic car here and take off. Alvin, Denton, and the Thing.
Yeah, because Alvin's like going. He thinks it's his daughter. He's starting to realize that this may have something to do with his daughter, who is, we're going to find out soon.
Yeah, it's really sad. He's really down on his luck, because they talk about his destiny, and he's like, my destiny, did he say? I wouldn't worry about that, Mr. Grimm. I don't think I have one anymore. Not since my world began to fall down around me a few years back. And Ben says, hard times, huh? And this is when he goes into, why he is where he is in life. He was a lawyer. He had a great life, and he said his wife was killed in an auto accident. I went to pieces. And then he says about his daughter and Jack and occultists, and his life really went off the rails here. But him saying his wife was killed is not quite accurate. We're going to find out here.
Yeah. So they land, and there's
Barbara.
She's got her suitcase. She's walking down. She's on a little. She's been trying to find out about her parents, and about and she pulls her sword. She's very fashionably drawn.
She's on a vision quest.
Yeah, she's on a vision quest. But she's like, she's dressed, in civil
street
clothes. But
yeah,
but her the ebony blade that she inherited from the Black Knight, when she touches it and draws it, it's invisible. When she touches and draws it, her costume appears. Which I always kind of liked. It made sense. How do you just,
It's a great scene here, though. She thinks something bad's going to happen because she doesn't recognize this guy. And I don't know if she's met Ben Grimm yet either.
No, she hasn't. He doesn't know who she is. And, he's not met her. Yeah, he's not met any of the Defenders, because we'll find out in the next issue when they cross it back into Defenders, when he meets Nighthawk, he doesn't know who Nighthawk is.
Yeah, and he hugs her, calls her Barbara, and she's like, stand away. Who are you? Why'd you call me Barbara? And he's like, what do you mean? You're my daughter. And he's like, unless you're not. And she's like, huh? And just as they, right before they can try to figure it out, here comes the Executioner and the Enchantress, right?
Yeah, and then the Enchantress zaps her and removes the incantation that bonded the Valkyrie to Barbara Norris. So Barbara Norris is now on the ground screaming because she's insane from having
all these experiences, yeah.
Yeah, and they're using the harmonica, and that's when Alvin grabs it and blows the harmonica, and we get... He thinks
it'll cure her, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll cure her, and all of a sudden they're all floating in this bizarre alien world. And they're trapped. If it and Valkyrie, I don't know. The Enchantress kind of figures out it. If it plays the notes of destiny, thou seest those with their own eyes. They don't know what to do. So Enchantress goes, silence. I can afford no further distraction while I bend my will to this task. Avon Benton, behold, I have made thy daughter whole again, as much as is within my power. Wilt thou save us now? Blow the harmonica now, at once. And he drops it, but they're all in this weird... And the Executioner and the Thing get in a fight over it. And Valkyrie joins in. And it's a great 4-page fight that goes all the way to when Ben gets a harmonica, he blows it, and all of a sudden they're back in Vermont. And poor Barbara's dad is dead.
Yeah, it doesn't really show what happened to him, or if it was just this whole experience of being in this other dimension, because you don't really see him get, stabbed, shot, zapped, anything like that. I just think the whole kind of experience was too much for him.
Yeah, and I like what she said. He is dead. The one man who could have told me all about Barbara, her childhood, her likes and dislikes, her bonds with other humans, all the factors which made her a person, and without which I am but an empty facade of fiction. And then Ben, being the good guy he is, comforts her and goes, whatever you are, kid, it ain't that, or my shoulder wouldn't be drenched. Paper dolls don't cry. Only real people got that problem. And then they said the story will continue in Defenders 20, and the Ben story will continue in 8, where he teams up with the Ghost Rider, which I will maybe go to peek at. So we're going to move on to Defenders 20. Hold on, let me get the print data up. And Fandom Wiki, I'm using it. This book was released on November 19th, 1974, cover dated 1975. It has got a Gil Kane John Romita cover, which is a really nice cover with the Undying one. The nameless one, not the Undying one, the nameless one. The nameless one.
Looks great.
The Defenders roll call is Doc Strange, Valkyrie, and Nighthawk, with guest Benkin. Bad guys are Nameless One, Von Nyberg, and some cultists, because they're the Nameless One, they're a cultist. This issue titled "The Woman She Was." .. Exclamation point. Creators are Steve Gerber, writer, Sal Buscema, penciler, Vince Colletta, inker, and I will say this is good Vince Colletta. It's not bad. I pick on Vince, and I want to say he is good sometimes.
The issue itself, it says Sal Buscema did the layouts, and Vince Colletta did everything else. So that's kind of surprising.
Let me look, because Wiki does it different.
Yeah, maybe in the Omni it might show you, but yeah, it says Sal Buscema just did layouts, and I was like, wow, okay.
It's good though. It's very Vinny. It's very Vinny.
Very sad scene here to open this up, though. Oh, man.
So, finishes. We got Petra Goldberg, colorist, John Costanza, letter editor, Len Wein, which is always good.
Roy had stepped down at this point, so there's a little distinction there.
Yeah.
It had been Roy, but 1975 is when he went back to being just a writer, editor,
And this is where
not
we go
editor
through
in
the
chief.
music. Yeah, we get a revolving doors of editors in chief over the next few years, for the next 6 or 7 years until Jim Shooter comes around.
Yep.
Marv, Jerry, Len, Archie. Is that it?
Yep. I think that's it. 4 editors in like 3 years.
Yeah. It does it. This
might even be somebody else in there we're forgetting, but yeah, it was a revolving door there until Shooter.
Yeah. But this is back to you said on the splash page. It is sad. It's her crying over the body. The 2 Asgardians are not conscious. Ben's even crying because Ben's a softie, man. He's a sentimental dude. The executioner tries to assault him, and Ben Buscema punches him through a tree on the bottom of the second page.
Cram.
And the Enchantress stops the fight and goes, "No, we got to get out of here. Our prize is lost. Beat it." Being her, Valkyrie sheaths her sword and carries Alvin Denton down to the thing. And then Doc Strange, astral projection, says, "You guys can't leave Cobbler's Roost." And then we have a little backup to the last 2 issues, the 2-page flashback. And then Barbara walks into town, and then there's this guy who's been popping around for the last couple issues, noticing, seeing Valkyrie and thinking it's Barbara. And he mentions
he's tied in with the cultists, I think.
Yeah. He's like, how can she be carrying a man? And then goes into the sheriff's office. Sheriff recognizes her and Alvin, and he's upset. And then another neighbor. Everybody recognizes her, and they're all very concerned about her, and she's enjoying it. And that's when she finds out about Jack, her husband.
Yeah, she doesn't realize at this point she's married.
Yeah. So the sheriff takes her to the place.
I think they go to like a summer house or something her family might have had.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's her dad's old place. Okay.
Yeah. I think he lost it, and it's just kind of sitting there abandoned or what.
Yeah. Ben wakes up, is woken by Doc Strange and Nighthawk. And I like it. He goes, "Oh, Doc, who's the clown in the bird suit?" He's another friend of Val's. His name is Nighthawk.
It's funny. Yeah. Clea mentioned something about the Defenders. You guys got a group going on? And he goes, "We can discuss that later. Val needs us." So they go to see what she's up to, and she's in this ancestral home here, looking at the pictures and just trying to figure out, who she really is and what's going on. But before that can happen, she gets blasted from behind here by someone we do not see who it is.
He's in a
Shadow.
He's a bad guy. He's wearing a cape, and there's some horns at the top of it or something. And they get to the place, and there's a trap door, and the Nighthawk and the Thing drop down, and then there's the guy that's been following her.
Who looks like a 1920s, 30s gangster, by the way.
Yeah, that's really, guys. Come on.
It's 1970s, and he looks like Al Capone's right-hand man here.
So Doc can't get him out, so he goes in through the front door, and then he recognizes Celestial Denton, Barbara's mother, that's whose harmonica it was. And then he's zapped by the guy with the funny hat, the cultist, and he's not he's Van Nyborg.
That Nyborg guy, yeah.
And there are all these cultists, and then there's one in a veil who lifts her thing, and it's Barbara's mother, Sister Celestia, and she's been deformed somehow.
Probably from that. I'm assuming from the accident that Alvin said she had been in.
Yeah.
He thought she died, but I guess she didn't, or they kind of resuscitated her or something. But yeah, she is. Oof, man, she's looking pretty rough.
Yeah, and then we cut back to Ben and Nighthawk, and they're in a room, and they find out one of the walls isn't really a wall, and they walk through it, and then the nameless one shows up, and then there's. It's not the great. I mean, this is where I think some of the art is a little unfinished, kind of in the fight scene. Because it starts and it's very sketchy. Also, I'm reading it on the omnibus, which is oversized, so it's blown up a little bit. So sometimes I'm thinking on some of these older comics, the enlargement doesn't aid it.
No, that is definitely not going to help this. And this is where you can really it really stands out to me that Sal only did a layout and Vinny did everything else, because this looks like 90% Vince Colletta, which again I'm not slamming on the guy. It's not like it's bad, but it definitely is not what you would think when Sal Buscema comes to your brain.
Yeah,
it's definitely not as good, especially the action scenes there. The fight scenes are very lackluster,
and that's kind of sad because it is the action scenes.
They basically take out Nyborg.
Yeah, and they take out Nyborg. Nighthawk does, and then Celestia's about to use the harmonica, and Ben rips it from her hand. The nameless one goes away, and she turns to ashes. And then Ben rescues Val and Doc from the altar, and hypnotizes the cultists to forget. But Barbara's crying now because she's just lost her father and mother in 2 issues.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy duty Marvel tragedy. You know what I mean?
And they do say that Ben destroyed the harmonica too, which I didn't realize he did. I thought that was still kind of one of those objects maybe floating around in the Marvel universe. But it says that I'm trying to think of what they say. But Ben has destroyed the insignificant object which held the mystic forces in sway. So he took it off her and crushed it, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not realize that. Or I forgot. It's been so long since I read it.
Yeah. But what did you think of this 3? Because the next issue we're going to do is kind of a handoff and going to lead into...
Yeah, they still have a running subplot here with Val, Barbara, whatever you want to call her, trying to figure things out. But it kind of takes a little bit more of a backseat, a little bit pushed to the back burner for this interlude of the Headmen here.
Yeah. It's set up, and they're setting up the Headmen, but then we're not going to see the Headmen for about 10 issues.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like you said, Gerber, almost like in a Claremont kind of way. Although this is pre-Claremont X-Men, he lays this little plot down here for these guys, the Headmen, and then he does the Serpents, what's it called, the Serpent Society or whatever arc.
Yeah.
And then does
Sons of the Serpent.
Sons of the Serpent, and then he does a cosmic, tie-in with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Not those Guardians of the Galaxy, the original Guardians of the Galaxy. And then he goes back to the Headmen, and then we get, what's his name? And the Bozos.
The Bozo clone, the Bozo clone. The Headmen last until his end. I think he doesn't tie that up until the end.
Yeah, and then that's where Gerber exits around issue 40.
Yeah, and then we get David Anthony Crap. There are 3 really great eras of Defenders, folks. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
So we're going to go to Defenders 21, which has a Gil Kane Klaus Janson cover, which I think is amazing. I'm a big fan of Klaus Janson inks. Again, things ink. This was released on December 17th, 1974. Cover dated March 1975. It is written by Steve Gerber, penciled by Sal Buscema, inked by Sal Trapani. Colorist George Roussos, letterer John Costanza, editor Len Wein. Roll call is Doc Strange, the Hulk, Valkyrie, and Nighthawk, which is kind of the core group until Doc Strange comes and goes, and we add Hellcat. Which I'm like, and then this has a character in it, Trixie Starr, and I want to kind of bring this up because she's prominent in this, but I was like, why do I know this name? And then I had to Google it, and she is the niece of the Egghead, and she has been in some Avenger issues. She first appeared in Marvel Feature 5, which was an Ant-Man story, and if you've not read these, I think they're on the app. They're written by Mark Friedrich. They're penciled inked by Herb Trimpe, and they're gorgeous. Have you ever read those Ant-Mans?
I have not, and I completely forgot about this character. I was like, who is this girl? I completely forgot about that she was even a thing.
Yeah, she's great. She's a great character in that, and she's... I really recommend those Marvel features with Ant-Man, because he has a different costume, and I'm a huge Herb Trimpe fan.
His Hulk is great.
Oh, God, with Severin ink in it. Oh,
I love his Hulk. Yeah,
I do
love
too.
his Hulk.
Yeah. But it's that Ant-Man stuff is well worth reading. So let's get back to this because she I forget, they tie her to Nighthawk in this, and I was like, well, I know her, but it's not from that. But it's her connection to Egghead.
Yeah,
is what I remember. So
great splash page here, man. Enter the Headmen.
Oh yeah, Enter the Headmen, and you see Ben flying off in the Fantastic R, and we get little exposition to explain where they are, and they're still in the Norris house. And I like this 2-page spread on the next page.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It's 4 panels along the top of them walking in, and Barbara's just sitting there looking at family album, and then it's just two big panels along the bottom, and it's just her when she was born with her parents, with her puppy, with her dad fishing,
playing baseball, graduation, marriage,
getting married to Jack. Oh, and she's just so upset.
Yeah, and for you younger listeners, people used to sit around looking at photo albums a lot. I'm sure Ross did. I did. You didn't look at your cell phone. You looked at a photo album.
Yeah. Well, when my mother passed, my sister went through all the photos she never put in albums and gave us all the ones with us in it. And there are some pictures of me and my siblings in the kind of striped pants that Val wears. Some Bobby Brady clothes, what I call my Bobby Brady look from 1972. A couple of them are like right from 72 or 74 when I was just starting to read comics because this is right before we went on that road trip, which is when I read my first comics on a road trip from cross country.
Yeah, and then this is where Val/Barbara mentions that she's married in front of Nighthawk. And Nighthawk had been taking a shine to Valkyrie. If people haven't,
he was creeping on her.
Yeah, he was really liking her and sometimes saying inappropriate things to her. And of course, her being a Norse mythological person, she was didn't understand what he was saying. So maybe if she did, she would have clobbered him. But yeah, he was really he had a thing for her, let's just say. And now he found out she's married, so he gets pissed off and leaves.
Oh yeah. Pouty rich white guy. No, I don't get the girl. And then we cut to the suburban.
This is great.
Westbury, Connecticut, where it's where a guy's about to go outside and his wife goes,
"He's going golfing,
game, George." Yeah, he's gonna go golfing, and the wife's like, "Oh, on your way home, get a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread." And he goes, "No Rice Krispies, no liverwurst." Well, now that you mention it, I love some. My dad used to eat liverwurst. I love liverwurst. I hate liver. It is.
Not for me, man.
Yeah, it would come in that Oscar Mayer tube, and you would smear it on.
Yeah.
Well, my mom always had instant coffee because that's what they drank. Because her dad would bring home the packets from the Navy. So she would have, if I'd come to visit her, and she goes, "Would you like some Nescafe?" And it's like, I'd rather lick an ashtray. That's not coffee.
That's not good.
That tastes like really, really old church, parish hall coffee. I'm not drinking that.
Oh, poor Hulk here, man. This really gets you.
I know, and it's that Frankenstein thing. Look at him. He's happy. The kids aren't afraid of him, and the dad comes out and pisses him off, and he's about to smash, and then he scares the little kids, and the little kid's like, "You're not nice," banging on his knee, and it makes him cry. Sorry, little girl.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's awful. Poor Hulk. I love his mean face, though, on that other page where he's like, "So stupid, dumb, puny human tries to spoil Hulk's fun, same as always," and he looks pissed. Woo! He just smashed that poor guy.
And he destroyed George's house.
Which will come into play again later, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I like this. Do you realize that unless we're insured for destruction by big green monsters, we now hold a 30-year mortgage on a pile of rubble? I'll be 64 years old when we own our own nothing. Oh, poor George. And then there's this bad guy in the... but before that, there's a single leap sends... There's some narration. The Hulk leaps off, and a single leap sends him over the horizon, out of sight, as one of the neighbors breathes a sigh of relief. Dr. Arthur Nagin, most of all. And Nagin's thinking, fortunate that brat's crying stopped him before he ripped up in my house. And then you see Nagin, he's kind of weird. He walks kind of strange. He's got really long arms. He's wearing leather gloves. His shirt's buttoned up, and he goes in. And there's another scientist in the lab, and Nagin takes off his gloves, and he's got like blue, hairy monkey hands. It's probably meant to be black hair, because folks in the old days, that's how you black was colored blue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then shaded with black. It wasn't until more advanced coloring that they could do black with texture and blue as the shading. And then there's another guy whose face is melted.
Dr. Jerry Morgan, yeah.
Dr. Jerry Morgan. And they're doing something nefarious in this house. We cut back to the boarding house, so Barbara Norris goes there. I mean, Valkyrie goes there, and
or her husband her husband lives at this boarding house. She wants to go talk to him.
Yeah, Miss Lafferty's not having it. He left without paying.
Oh man, yeah, she flips her lid.
Yeah.
She says she's gonna scratch her eyes out.
Oh yeah, and that poor Valkyrie's just having a shit day. This is all she lost both her parents, found out she was married, and then getting brutalized, just verbally abused, but he's flown all the way home to his penthouse. And that's when Trixie Starr comes in. It's just an old girlfriend.
Yeah, and he says, I was just thinking about you. And I'm like, no, you weren't. You were just thinking about Valkyrie, you sicko.
Pig.
You jerk. Oh, man.
But she sees him in a costume, and it's like, wait a minute, why are you dressed like that? And he tells her his whole story up to the point. And he
don't care about secret identities.
Yeah, so that's the story of my life. Any skeletons in your closet, Trish? One. An evil old uncle, but that's not important. Wait a minute. That's not important.
It kind of is.
Really? Are there a lot of people with evil scientist uncles floating around the Marvel Universe? Oh, the answer to that would be yes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Everybody's related.
Yeah. And then we cut to Bruce Banner. He's woken up in the alleys in New York, and he goes, I better go to the Sanctum Sanctorum and get out of these smelly clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Barbara's not having a good time here. She's very sad. And he comes in the door, and they're like, Banner, what's going on? He's exhausted, and they don't know what's happening here. And now we get the next member of the Headmen here, and he's the only one that doesn't make sense to me, because the Headmen is the name of this group, and all of them, except for this guy who we're about to be introduced to, have something going on with their head.
Well, he gets something later.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh yeah. What happens to him later? And I mean,
instead of musical chairs, folks, it's musical brain cavities.
Now they do something to his head here.
They inject something in to amplify his mystic powers. But he's Chandu the Mystic.
Awful. God, that looks terrible.
There's no way to do it. There's not enough skin.
Sticking a needle straight down in through the top of his head. Oh, man, does that look gross?
Yeah, that looks really painful. But Sal does it really good. These page layouts, all this stuff is really good. But when they do it, it makes his eyes light up, and then a big black dome covers New York City.
And it looks like it's raining, almost like the cover where it says, "Beware the black rain."
Oh yeah, it's making everybody lose their minds. I guess it's everybody who was asleep wakes up and is now losing it, because it's not affecting anybody who's awake.
No, yeah, it's not anybody that was asleep. So you figure, you flip back to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and there was someone that was asleep there, and it was Bruce Banner, and that's not good. Him going crazy is not good.
So, it becomes.
Trixie fell asleep too, by the way, while she was listening to Kyle's boring stories. She had fallen asleep too and wakes up and goes bananas, and he slaps her, like he clobbers her.
He knocks her out, and there are people jumping off of buildings or smashing. So Valkyrie and Doc Strange have to fight the Hulk. And all this time, Negan, with the human head and the gorilla body, is stealing all these diamonds and stuff to pay for their experiments.
That's all this was, basically. They did this to cause a diversion so he could steal to make money for, the experiments and the crap the Headmen are going to do.
Yeah. So Nighthawk sees him, flies down and punches him in the back. That has to hurt. But then he goes, you can never tell who you'll fly by, and it can't be. I couldn't see you clearly from above.
You're not human.
You're not human. and I revel in that fact. And then he just starts jumping and
clobbers him with the bag of jewels.
Yeah, Chandu's passing out. The serum's worn off, precisely as I had predicted. They get in their car and they get away. All of this was for a robbery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
all
they just
this setup for the final battle, which is 2.5 pages long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is all, like, they caused all this chaos, probably countless deaths, so they could steal some diamonds.
But I love it that, but Gerber's letting you know in the final panel is like Nighthawk goes, I was on my way here to apologize and offer my help when I spotted him, Doc. There has to be a connection somehow. And if so, what then? Have we heard the last of them? Or was this all been but a prelude to the weirdest menace we've ever faced? It was like,
mm-hmm.
So it's not only are you creating a prelude, you're just going to say it out loud at the end.
Yeah.
But then they're not going to reappear for a year.
Yeah, people probably thought Gerber was nuts, saying, like, is this a prelude to our craziest thing? Because, again, the next issue, like you said, it goes into a completely different storyline. It goes into the Sons of the Serpent, and that lasts, like, I don't know, probably 4 issues.
Oh, yeah.
And then they jump into, Guardians of the Galaxy, and they jump into that for, like, 4 issues. So, literally, it's, like, not until issue... It's at least 20. I think it might be 29 or 30 when they finally.
It's right after the Guardians of the Galaxy storyline. Hold on a second. I'm kind of, what is it? 20.
30. It looks like at least, maybe. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to find I'm going through what I like about these Silver Age omnibuses. They have the letter pages.
Yeah, it's 30. Issue 30. It goes back to. It starts to go back to the Headmen and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking for the letters that reflect on this issue, which would be, I'm almost there. I'm flipping ahead to the comics. Oh, wait a minute. Nope. Went too far. 21.
I lie. It's actually 31.
31. Good God.
Yeah, because 30 has this crazy guy in it that's like, a magician type guy, and he and Doc Strange have it out. But yeah, it's not. That's almost like, it almost seems like a filler issue.
so I've gone ahead to issue 24, and the letters reflecting this issue are pretty. I'm kind of looking at them. It's just one page, and there's 3 letters. No one famous, since sometimes you could find famous people.
Mm-hmm.
But one person, Bob Dominowski, goes, Dear gentlemen, get the prize ready because I've done it. Yes, I have located where the Headmen made their appearances before. Though they were not together in the same story, they were in the same comic. Here goes. Dr. Nagin in the story Walks Erect. Chandu, The Wrath of Chandu. Jerry Morgan, The Prisoner of the Fantasy Four. The comic was Weird Wonder Tales 1974 number 7, which was a reprint of those 3 stories. So that's
Golden
good
Age.
to know.
Yeah, it was a reprint of like late Golden or early Silver Age stuff.
I think it's late Gold, early Silver. God, man, the extras in this are great.
Yeah, like late 50s, 59, 60, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and the story, what's great about this omnibus, I'm reading Defenders Omnibus number 2, which covers Defenders 20 through 41, giant sizes 3, 4, and 5. I love the era of the giant sizes. Annual 1, because the annuals come back.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel 201, 6, and 7. Marvel Treasury Edition 12 is the last Defender story in that. That's Howard the Duck Treasure.
Howard, yep.
Marvel Superheroes 18, which is the first appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I have that in like 3 different volumes now. The trade you sent me that had all the early stuff.
Yeah. There's some Gerber in there, too. That's a lot of Gerber stuff.
But it also has Mystery Tales 21, World of Fantasy 11, and Tales of Suspense 9, which has those 3 issues that introduce those 3 Headmen.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're looking for like a cheaper way to read these and you don't mind the black and white, the essentials are great. Like this essential volume has Defenders 15 to 30, giant size, all 4 of them, giant size Defenders 1 through 4. Marvel 2-in-1, 6 and 7. Marvel Team Up 33, 34, 35. There's some Valkyrie there. Marvel Treasury Edition 12. All that's in this essential. So you could read so much fun, great Defender stuff.
I'm looking because I've put all my essentials on eBay. I'm going to see something real quick. Hold on. I just want to make sure. Maybe people do. Because I've sold a bunch of them really quick. The first week I put them in, like some of the like the later ones went fast.
Okay.
Yeah, the later ones are harder to get. And I had them all, and I even bought the last 12 issues of the comic.
Probably a
So
print
I had
run
a
was
whole
lower.
run, and I sold those too. People picked them up.
Yeah, a lot of times the print run gets lower later on there.
Oh no, I think I've gotten rid of all of them. 3's in there, and 6, but
yeah,
folks,
if
but
anybody
they're on there. They're out there. They're out there, and they're well worth it. I like the essentials. The reason I'm getting rid of mine is because a lot of what was in mine, I'm now getting in these omnis, and so the essentials were just duplicate. So
do you know offhand, have they put the Defenders out in the those Marvel trades, the Epic collections? Have they done Defenders in the Epics
ton
yet?
of them. Yeah.
Oh,
They've done
okay.
a bunch of them.
Well, if they're
a bunch
in print,
of them, yeah.
if they're in print, grab those because those are really good trades.
I was talking to the guys at my comic shop, and I think the $49 price point on an Epic is too much.
Yeah, if you're not giving any kind of discount on that, that's a bit steep.
So get it, guys. I will sing their praises all the time. Cheap graphic novels and in-stock trades are amazing. They have great discounts. They have great customer service. You get the books within 10 days or 2 weeks of ordering them. It takes them a while to package it and get it out and send it media mail, but it's well worth it. I cannot sing their praises enough. It's made buying these omnis. I get things with little nicks and dents. I go, it's got a dent in it, and I get it because I would have.
Who cares?
I would have put that dent in it, just putting it on the damn shelf. Come on, just.
But
it's great, and you can
they
get
discount
these.
them even more then.
Yeah, and also, look, I mean, the first 2 volumes of the Omni, the first 2 Defender Omnis are relatively. This volume 2 just came out like 3-4 weeks ago, so they're well worth it. All right, so let's wrap this up. Thanks for coming on again, Billy. I really love these Defenders, and it's nice to talk about them. Not doing it weekly like I did at the beginning, but doing them every couple months. So I will ask you back to do giant sizes 3 and 4. Which is 3 has a great Jim Starlin drawn. It's good team ups. They add a couple extra heroes, and Jim Starlin draws it, and it is the game. What is it? The Grandmaster.
I think so. Yeah.
So well worth it. So Billy, tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, man. Anybody who wants to seek me out, I'm still hanging on Twitter. It's at BillyD_licious. Yes, that is a weird name. There's no real story behind it either. It's just a weird name I picked when I got on Twitter like 15 years ago. And then, my main podcast is called Magazines and Monsters. That's a feed that has, the main feed. Every other week, an episode comes out on Friday where it's either a classic sci-fi horror movie or a comic book, mostly superhero kind of stuff related. A Bronze Age comic book, horror comics podcast that comes out every Monday, and of the Brave and the Bob, which is zany, haney, Brave and the Bold, that kind of stuff from the Bronze Age as well, DC Comics, and that's every other Wednesday that comes out. And of course, you and some other guys join me every 2 weeks at All-Star Squadron, JSA, Earth 2 kind of stuff. We're going to do some Elseworld stuff coming up here soon too as well. So look forward to that one.
I'm excited about it. I've been kind of jumping in and out of Magazine of Monsters in between other podcasts. And there's some horror movies that made me go, especially Hammer. I need to do some Hammer watching. So.
I did a triple feature yesterday, man. It was great.
Awesome. Well, folks, as always, I'm going to wrap this up with be safe, be smart, be kind to one another, and read some comics. Read some 70s Marvel.